If anyone thought that this fight was about to wrap up neatly, yeah, Boruto 2 Blue Vortex just laughed directly in your face. Chapter 32 starts with Damon casually treating the battlefield like his personal arcade machine, wiping out 100 Mamushi clones in under a minute while looking like the kid who just discovered cheat codes. Meanwhile, the master plan that's cooked up by Shikamaru and Kashin Koji immediately begins collapsing faster than Kawaki's emotional stability. Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan has finally burned out. Boruto freezes in panic beside her, and suddenly the battlefield turns into the shinobi version of a disaster movie. Mitsuki and Himawari can't hold the line. Kawaki's ninja tech is literally overheating, and Mamushi decides the appropriate response is not to retreat, but instead upgrade the chaos from 100 clones to 1,000 clones like his name was Naruto. And if that sounds bad, trust me, the chapter somehow finds a way to make things even worse. Without further ado, let's just dive deep into Boruto 2 Blue Vortex chapter 32. We open up this chapter with the Mamushi clones on the rampage, and Sai is instructing the Jonin in the village to stand back and don't engage, telling them to make sure that the civilians in the village remain top priority. As this is happening, Boruto interrupts the Mamushi clones who are fighting each other, and he plays his part in the plan to lure Mamushi into their trap by telling them that he can take Mamushi to Ada's location. This causes all the other Mamushi clones scattered across the village to stop what they're doing and to fly off towards the various battlefields in pursuit of Boruto. As they fly off, Amado quickly is able to break down one of the strengths of the Mamushi clones. Each Mamushi clone has a shared consciousness that binds them, yet they all have their own free will and they share senses with one another. So if one sees or hears something, they all see or hear it. Basically, it's a hive mind, if you will, or to use a Naruto example, the same way that the eyes of the six paths of pain were all connected to the same thing holds true here, only the hearing is included in this. Boruto buys the team time by telling Mamushi intel on Damon as he leads them on the detour route, but what we're seeing here is classic ninja trickery from Boruto. He knows that Mamushi's clones have been split into 200. Their intelligence, as a result, it is at rock bottom to a point where Kid Naruto might actually be smarter than them. And so it makes them a lot easier to manipulate. Boruto in the past wouldn't have resorted to something like this, but we see in the 3 years that Boruto's been on the run as a rogue ninja, it has changed him. He's not above using verbal manipulation and gaslighting. He tells Mamushi, look, you might be focused on Ada, but you really need to be focused on Damon. If you take him out, dude, then Ada, she's gonna be all yours. And at no point does it ever cross Mamushi's mind to suspect, why is Boruto suddenly telling me something like this? Because, being blunt, he's too stupid to see through the deception that is happening right now. Boruto tells Mamushi that Damon will be guarding Ada, that he's so powerful that his strength level is near unmeasurable, to a point that Damon's full power is unknown, which is something that isn't bluster on Boruto's part. He's not just gassing him up. Damon flat out confirmed for us in Boruto Naruto Next Generations chapter 80 that he has never at any point in his life, even when he fought against Code, he has never ever used full power. And so right now the narrative is building us up for that controlled chaos that Damon's about to unleash, and there is clear bloodlust in his eyes as he's riding on Ada's back. Mamushi might be planning a Diddy party, but Damon plans to bless the whole thing up, one reflection jutsu at a time. This leads to Mamushi thinking about the information given to him, and we get a shot of Bug sealed inside of the tree, and we get a bombshell. Mamushi is directly drawing on the memories of Bug. He knows on an instinctual level that Damon's jutsu is dangerous because if he touches him with his palms, or if he places his palms on someone, anyone in the area, he can reflect back the attack, even if it is killing intent via thoughts. This rightfully alarms Boruto. This was likely something that was never accounted for, that Mamushi might have a instinctual understanding of how to fight Damon, and Ada is quick to explain to us the truth. She basically says that Bug's memories are to blame for this. And if we look at what she's saying, it all goes back to something that is overlooked from Naruto's manga that a lot of fans have forgotten. Chakra is used for more than just ninjutsu. That's what everybody focuses on. We get all these superhuman feats of strength, all these flashy jutsu. People use their chakra to beef up their stamina in the way that Kakashi would do when he used the Sharingan, or they would use chakra to beef up their strength like Tsunade and Sakura did, or they would use it to beef up their speed like the Raikage and Sasuke did. However, part of your chakra is also made up of yin energy, better known as spiritual energy, which is connected to the mind, the heart, and the soul. This is how memories can be transferred over chakra. Like we saw with Itachi imparting his memories into Sasuke before Edo Tensei was reversed, and when Naruto's memories leaked out through his chakra that he shared with the Alliance. Each of these Shinju are born from the chakra they took from their hosts, and as Ikimoto explained to us in the 9th anniversary Q&A last year, each Shinju is a reflection of the true intention and desires and will of their hosts. Meaning, say, Matsui's love for Konohamaru, that was because Moegi was in love with Konohamaru. By extension, this is why Mamushi has such a deep lust for Ada and such a deep hate for Damon, a deep fear for Damon, in particular his power, because Bug feared and hated Damon. In the Code versus Damon battle, Bug told Code the weakness of the jutsu that Damon had, that he has to place palms on someone in order to activate the jutsu, anyone in the area. But Code was too weak to exploit it. Both Boruto and Ada understand what this means. Mamushi knows the weakness and he may be able to take advantage of it. Being the ever unserious guy that he is, Damon's reaction is Bug must have hated him in the past because he broke all of his teeth. As Boruto takes the clones to the house via that detour and Team 10 tries to rendezvous at the location, Shikamaru reveals his plan by asking Sarada, how many Mamushi clones can you take out in one go at Ohirume? And she responds that she can take out 50. This causes Shikamaru to state the plan in detail, which is that Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan, it is their ace in the hole. Damon is going to take the lead, and then everyone else will destroy more of the Mamushi clones until the number drops below 50. He specifically orders Sarada stay out of the fight until then. If this sounds familiar to you, it should. If we go back a few chapters ago, what was Shikamaru's order to Sarada? To stay out of the action and do not engage the clones. Now he's saying they're going to destroy all the clones in one blast via Sarada's jutsu. What did Kashin Koji say that they needed to do in order to take down Mamushi? They needed to destroy all the clones in one blast. What did Kashin Koji specifically say about Sarada's Mangekyo when Boruto asked him why was it so important that she reawakened the Mangekyo Sharingan even at the cost of Yodo's life? Koji specifically said her power was needed in the battles coming ahead. Those battles are now. Shikamaru also builds in a contingency plan because of course he did. He's Batman Sensei. So he's ordering Kawaki and Himawari to handle any remaining clones that Sarada may miss, specifically because they have wide-ranging attacks, which basically comes down to Kawaki's Ninja Tech Chakra Blast and Himawari's Bijudama. They have wide-scale area of effect that does not weaken in attack potency or destructive capacity. It's a brilliant plan, and Shikamaru thinks that he has everything figured out. But as we're about to see, even the best laid plans, they all have flaws. Boruto stops flying to allow the Mamushi clones to fly past him, and they swarm Ada, all 200 of them, and Ada immediately panics as a result. She's screaming in fear, she's shouting. Her fear of Mamushi immediately causes 2 of the 3 instinctual responses that people have when they're faced with a threat. Fight, flight, or freeze. Ada freezes here until Damon orders her to fly away, which is both symbolically and literally her flight instinct kicking in. Damon, being the unserious brat that he is having the time of his life as he's watching the clones fight amongst themselves for who gets the right to get their hands on Ada. However, as soon as one of them grabs onto her heel and it attempts to consume her, its entire face is crushed in by Damon's reflection jutsu. This is because Damon's palms are on his sister. As long as that happens, he can transfer protection towards her and reflect any attacks or killing intent. However, as Damon states, since the clones don't have any killing intent towards him, the full impact is not there unless they actually reach him and Ada with killing intent. Ada begins to panic, saying that their flight speed, it is faster than hers, and that she's not going to be able to continue to outrun them. This causes Damon to smile, and he orders Ada, fly lower to the ground. Let me on the ground, and then you continue to fly off. This is the break glass in case of emergency button, and this has unleashed Damon. With a single punch, Damon blows the head off of one of the clones and sends it flying towards the others. He then proceeds to speed blitz the clones, and with a single kick, he blows their heads into pieces. In 2 moves, he has destroyed 6 clones. Damon quickly lands on the ground and places his palms on the body of one of the Mamushi clones, which activates his reflection jutsu, and it reflects the damage back to the Shinju that were trying to attack him. Heads are exploding all around him. In mere seconds, another 20 Mamushi clones have had their heads explode, including one who is preparing to use a fire release jutsu, and it causes his entire body to burst into flames. What we're seeing here is Damon giving off some real horror movie vibes. He's like that creepy little kid that looks at you and you burst into flames. Everyone watches stunned as Damon continues making light work out of all these clones, and when some of them slip by, Damon sees his sister frozen in fear, and he immediately speed blitzes the clone that is closest to her, and with another roundhouse kick, he splits the guy in half, his entire body in half, upper body detached from the lower body. And as he's spinning in midair or falling, he grabs the upper body of the clone and throws it into the rest of them that were charging towards his sister, and proceeds to trash talk all the clones, saying, "Is that the best you got? Where's your fighting spirit?" He's intentionally riling them up to the point that their bloodlust is showing, and Damon's plan works. The clones are coming at Damon with killing intent, and that leads to Damon laughing his ass off while Ada switches from being afraid to watching coldly calculated as she sees what's about to happen. Damon raises his hands up, places his hands on the side of Ada's face, and all the clones charging at them have their heads explode on impact because Damon doesn't need to be touching his target to reflect their attacks. He just needs to be touching anyone in order to reflect it. In less than 1 minute, Damon has taken out 100 Mamushi clones, and it's left everyone utterly speechless at what they're seeing. Everyone knew that Damon was strong. Everyone knew that he was efficient. Nobody knew that he was this strong. Nobody knew that when Damon fights somewhat serious, he can do this much damage this quickly. Even Delta, somebody who has seen Jigen fight and caught glimpses of Jigen's power, even she is looking on stunned, saying, "I didn't know that this guy could move like that." To impress someone like Delta is a really big deal. With the numbers now reduced, we see the intelligence of the clones. They begin to start recovering, just as Kashin Koji warned, and they start to realize that Damon is intentionally trying to rage bait them. Basically, that Damon is taking a page out of Denji's book from Chainsaw Man, where he would deploy the same strategy. However, not want to sit on the sidelines, Boruto flies in from behind and he cuts off the heads of multiple Mamushi clones from the blind side. He instructs the rest of the team, keep attacking them before they have time to think, which is because of what Kashin Koji warned in the past. On one hand, their increased numbers make it a lot easier to fight the Mamushi clones because they lack intelligence. On the other hand, the more you cut down their numbers, it raises their intelligence, it raises their battle IQ, it raises their awareness of self back up as well. Hence, they need to be destroyed in one go. Otherwise, you risk taking on Mamushi closer and closer towards full mental capacity, which at that point means Mamushi can utilize his full power. Mitsuki goes into Sage mode, and he lobs up more clones for Kawaki by throwing them into the air. Kawaki cuts on his Karma Seal, and he fires off one of his Ninja Tech blasts to shoot down the clones that Mitsuki threw into the air. Basically, it was an alley-oop. Himawari is using her Nine-Tails chakra to battle more of the clones, and right when they hit exactly 50 clones left, Shikamaru gives the order to Sarada, and then this is where everything falls apart. Pay very close attention here. I pointed this out in the prior chapter. We're seeing it again. Sarada's eyes, the pupils in particular, when she first activates the jutsu, they are black. Sarada is preparing to exhaust the massive amount of chakra needed for the jutsu, and she is doing multiple things simultaneously. She is lifting 50 clones into the air. She's lifting herself into the air, and she has her gravity spears that are activated. She is pulling all of these Mamushi clones towards the spears, and she's preparing to detonate. And then it happens. The pupil in her eye is completely whited out. And suddenly, Sarada has collapsed and her jutsu has fallen apart. Boruto immediately catches the now unconscious Sarada, who has blood gushing from her eye, and he's screaming her name, unconcerned about the clones surrounding them. Boruto's top priority is getting Sarada to safety. This leads to Shikamaru realizing that Sarada must have used his power once before, and as Delta brings him up to speed, telling him that she used it to save a civilian earlier, Shikamaru realizes that she disobeyed orders during the time that Inojin cut off communications, and he sees the issue they have. Mamushi is getting more pissed off because he now realizes how close he came to dying. This is because his intelligence is no longer split down to that super low level. Kawaki immediately begins shooting off ninja tech blasts. He is amped up by the Karma Seal, but when Kawaki begins getting super serious, he suffers the same problem as Sarada. He's now crapped out and reached his limit. Smoke begins to emit from his body because the ninja tech inside of his body has reached its limits. This is because Kawaki is a cyborg, meaning he is a human being whose natural body was remodeled mechanically, like all the car inners from Ada all the way down to Kashin Koji. Something that a lot of fans tend to forget. Kawaki's body has exerted too much power and the ninja tech inside of it cannot keep up, which causes him to collapse. This leads to Amato panicking, telling Kawaki to get out of there because number one, he needs Kawaki alive to revive his daughter, but also because Kawaki has overheated to the point he can't even maintain his karma, which allows one of the Mamushi clones to slam Kawaki into the ground, both because Kawaki's now defenseless and because with less than 50 clones, his intelligence is now closer to peak battle IQ than it was when there were 200 clones, and he was more easily distracted and prone to foolishness and not focusing on the combat in front of him. As Himawari rushes towards Kawaki, who is now coughing up blood, Delta shoots off another destructive eye beam to destroy the clone on top of Kawaki, and both Damon and Ada come to the conclusion that the shift in tide is beginning to happen, and we see real fear in the eyes of Ada, and we see the sweat drop on her face. Konohamaru quickly rushes towards Boruto to check on Sarada, who is still unconscious, and being blunt, the appearance of her eye, it is downright gruesome, to a point it's hard to recognize. However, things have gotten even worse because now we see why Ada was beginning to panic a few moments ago. In the background, high in the air, we see Mamushi clones dividing themselves, and we see on the ground more clones than Ikimoto has ever drawn at any point during Boruto's 10-year manga publication. This is damn near a throwback to the times that Naruto would make more clones than you can count, and the narrator reveals the dark truth. The number of clones is too overwhelming for them, and Inojin is able to use his jutsu to give us a definitive number. There are now over 1,000 clones being spawned, 5 times more than what they originally faced, and Kashin Koji is drawn with a grim expression, and rightfully so. 2 of their biggest aces in the hole, they're now off the table. Kawaki's body has overheated, and he has to go through a cooldown period like we saw in part 1, where he needed a moment to cool down, and then when he fought again, he was not at full power like when he fought against Goro. Sarada is now unconscious and completely helpless. The only fighters left are Damon, Boruto, Himawari, Delta, Mitsuki, Konohamaru, Shikadai, and Chocho against over 1,000 clones, and that is bad news. For as strong as Damon was, he had a couple of moments in the fight where the numbers got to him and his sister was almost captured, though he was fast enough to close the gap. Against this many, he can't afford to go too far from her side. Shikadai and Chocho aren't doing much unless they manage to catch a few Mamushi clones slipping in the moments where they aren't using the chakra to maintain their defense, which at 1,000 clones is likely going to happen more than once because we saw it happen with 200 clones. But the problem is you might catch 1, 2, 3, maybe even 10 like that, but the sheer numbers will overwhelm the people that are too far outclassed if someone is not watching their blind side. Teamwork is going to be key moving forward. Konohamaru is likely going to have to guard Sarada. That means, say, if 100 of them were left to Chocho and Shikadai to take down, that means 900 clones are split between Damon, Boruto, Delta, Himawari, Mitsuki. Basically 180 per person, assuming that number doesn't continue to go past 1,000, which are outright told that it is. And with Damon, he can't stray too far from his sister because his sister's taijutsu skill is only average, and being blunt, she is extremely afraid of Mamushi. Again, when people are staring down death, they either fight, they fly, or they freeze. We've seen Ada's responses. She will freeze or she will fly away, and she's not fast enough to get away on her own. Volume 9 is going to be starting off with a bang and fast pace at speed that only rival how fast you can click here for that Boruto full story playlist to relive the story from Boruto Part 1 all the way up to the Sand Village arc of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, or you can click here on the right to check out the newest video from my Anime Explained channel where I talk about non-Naruto anime and manga.